Recently, I've been completing every Pokemon game's Pokedex, and to have a little break from them, considering they take a long time to record and edit, I decided to complete Cobblemon's Pokedex in the new Record and Catch update. But this still took an absurd amount of time, so a sub would be greatly appreciated. Let me just rip the band-aid off immediately. This is going to be a 3-parter, because if you can complete one series, why not just start another? And in this first part, I'll only be completing Generation 1. So yeah, sorry, and let's just move on. First of all, Cobblemon is an open source Minecraft mod, which basically adds Pokemon into the game. It also adds a lot more from the games, and for those of you who are asking, how is this different from Pixelmon? Well, simply, Pixelmon adds Pokemon that look like they've been stripped out of the game, but Cobblemon adds Pokemon that genuinely look like they can exist in the world of Minecraft, and I'm going to have to complete the Pokedex in this game. And just to make it harder, I'm making it a living dex, meaning I'll have to catch each individual Pokemon instead of just catching one Pokemon from a line and evolving it. And with 146 Pokemon to catch, excluding the legendaries and mythicals, this is going to take a while. So this is me from editing here to tell you that I very majorly messed up. So the recording for the first day of this video, I forgot to record. And you might be wondering how this is a big problem. It's just one day. But you underestimate my endurance. So yeah, for any time there isn't a recording, I'll just be explaining what happened with graphics on the screen, and there's not really any way for me to prove what happened. So anyway, first of all, I started with Charmander as my starter because I'm going to need all 9 starters. Obviously, I chose Charmander because Charizard is the only starter that can fly, and having a flying type before getting Elytra is going to be very necessary. And I know there isn't any way for me to prove this, but I found a Quilava in like 30 minutes. And the reason why this is absurd, every starter is of an ultra rare bucket, meaning they have a 0.2% to spawn, and not just that, considering there are more than just one Pokemon that spawned here, makes this Quilava even more rare. So yeah, after that I traveled across the ocean to a clearing in the Dark Forest where I set a base, and I found a zombie villager which I trapped in a boat, and I started building a base. Also, between the first and second day I got diamond armor, and I have no clue where I got it and when I got it. So yeah, on the beginning of day 2 I got a Rowlet, and I know this looks really scripted, but I promise it isn't. Anyway, I also found a Crobat, and I decided to take it on with level 15 Pokemon, and I somehow caught it in a fastball with it at nearly full health. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on, but whatever it is, I hope it doesn't stop. I also went to the Nether to get materials for an apricot farm which I built, and I made the roof look way too complicated. I started to work on a design for my base and made a farm below the base, and honestly that took the entire day. I continued to work on the base, and after a while of fiddling with the design, I finally settled on a design I was happy with,
Bruh.
which forced me to carve out the entire mountainside. And to end the day off, got a fishing template from a shipwreck, meaning now I can access the poker rods in this new update. I started to explore the Nether and a Nether fortress so I can get to the end and get an Elytra quickly. I also built a chicken farm, which didn't work, so I started to explore more of the world and started to fill out more of the Pokedex. I got a Quaxly, Nidoran male, and Nidorino. Eventually, I finally evolved my Charmeleon into a Charizard, meaning I can now fly. I also built an inhumane cow farm. I also got a Scyther which will prove useful for catching Pokemon, Caterpie, a Metapod, a Weedle, and caught and evolved a Metapod. I also caught and evolved 3 Pidgeys. I also caught a Pikachu. Then I found my 3rd and 4th Rowlet. And I was so tired of just finding random Rowlets that I killed it, and these won't be the last Rowlets. I also found a Turtwig, and I didn't have Pokeballs, so yeah, I lost that one. And when I was trying to evolve my Pidgeotto, this happened.
Bruh. My man is sleeping and still how is it? What the hell? There's so many Gimmighoul and still carrying me.
I also got a Nidorina, a Nidoran female, a Spearow, and a Quilava. Okay, my starter luck is so good and bad at the same time. I also caught a Lickitung. I also evolved Pikachu into Raichu. I then traveled to a desert where I caught a Sandshrew and Sandslash. I also found a sandy den, which I dug up a Helix fossil, which I can revive into Omanyte. I also got 2 Cleffa for Clefairy and Clefable. I also got a Jigglypuff and a Vulpix, which I evolved into Ninetales. I then cured the zombie villager. Then I spent the rest of the day trying to get a mending from him and working on an enchantment setup and a mob spawner, which didn't work. I then went north to get an Alolan Vulpix. These two don't count as new entries, but I'll be trying to get as many regional variants as I possibly can. I also got a Muk from the nearby swamp and an Onix at base. I also then caught an Alolan Pikachu, which I can evolve into an Alolan Raichu. Then I found a Venusaur and it KO'd himself with Double Edge. Anyway, after that I caught 3 Oddishes to complete the line, a Paras and Parasect, a Venomoth, and the entire Diglett line including the Alolan forms. On the beginning of day 9, I caught a Magneton, a Galarian Farfetch'd, a Psyduck, and Golduck. I found a village and found and caught an Alolan Executor, a Meowth, and a Grimer. At a jungle, I caught and evolved a Mankey. Outside my base, I caught the entire Poliwag line excluding Politoed as it's a Gen 2 Mon. Back in the village, I caught a Coughing, a Growlithe, and an Arcanine. In the Moonlight Valley, I caught the entire Machop line. In the jungle, I caught the entire Bellsprout line. Outside my base, I caught the Geodude line. In the village, I caught a Weezing, Execute, the Tentacool line, and Staryu. In the Nether, I caught a Ponyta. Then in the caves, I caught a Magnemite, the Doduo line in the Savannah, and the Steel line in the Ice Spikes. On the beginning of February, I found a Shipwreck Cove, and I immediately died and died over and over again. Yeah, let's not go there again. After that, I caught the Shelter line, Horsey, and another Quaxley. In the Nether, I caught the Ghastly line. In the village, I caught a Brionne and the Drowsy line. On the beach, I caught the Krabby line. In the forest, I also caught a Ditto. Back in the village, I caught the entire Voltrobe line. In the desert, I caught the Cubone line. Today, I started my berry expedition as I need them for proteins and iron, which I needed for Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, as Tyro can only evolve into Hitmonlee if it has higher attack than its defense, and if it has a higher defense than attack, it will evolve into Hitmonchan, and if its attack and defense stats are equal, then it'll evolve into Hitmontop, which I don't need. And most of this day was just breeding and mutating berries. With it, I evolved the Tyrogue into Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. In the Savannah, I caught the Rhyhorn line, and while I was traveling back to my base, I found my first shiny, a Sentret, which I had to sail on a boat to a copper vein so I could make Pokeballs to catch it. But thankfully, it caught in the first ball, and in the jungle, I caught a Tangela. In the village, I caught a Chansey. In the ocean, I caught a Seadra and Seeking. In the ice village, I caught a Jinx. In the ocean, I caught a Lapras. Then I built a bee farm for honey bottles, which I can use for max revives, which I need to revive Pokemon fossils, with which I made a resurrection setup. In the jungle, I caught a Pinsir. After this, I went on a digging expedition for fossils. For living dex, I needed 2 Helix fossils, 2 Dome fossils, and an Amber fossil. By the end of the day, I got him, plus a Munchlax, which I can evolve into Snorlax, and a shiny Pidgey. Porygon only spawns near PCs, so I just set up a platform with a bunch of PCs on it, and on the beginning of day 16, I caught a Porygon. In the village, I started to farm enchant for my Pokerod, which I thought I needed to catch a Dratini, and later I realized I didn't, so yeah, that was an entire waste of one day. In a deep cave, I caught the Alolan Geodude line as version 1.6.1 of Cobblemon came out. I also got 2 Marshtomp, a Hisuian Goomy, multiple Feebasses, a Barboach, before I realized you don't need a fishing rod for Dini. Then I found like 3 Dratini in 2 underwater caves, and after a while of training, I evolved a Dratini into Dragonair and Dragonite. Spawning in Cobblemon works in a way where imagine there are 4 buckets titled Common, Uncommon, Rare and Ultra Rare, each with a different number of Pokemon in it. Every time Cobblemon wants to spawn a Pokemon, it picks from one of those 4 buckets, with each of them having different chances to get picked. Then whatever bucket it picked, it then spins another wheel with the Pokemon inside the bucket. Then whichever one it lands on, that one gets spawned. All starters are in the ultra rare bucket, with multiple other non-starters in there. So when I'm trying to catch a Bulbasaur, I'm basically praying that Bulbasaur just so happens to be picked with the very low odds. So that Venusaur from earlier probably should have guarded first turn with a quick ball. That would have been faster and would have saved me a lot of time. Thankfully, Charmander is the only one that spawns in the basalt deltas, so I caught both the Charmanders I needed and I forgot to record. And in the jungle, I found and caught a Wartortle and a Squirtle in the nearby ocean. And while waiting for another Squirtle or anyone in the Bulbasaur line, I caught a Froakie, Snivy, Sobble, Grookey, and Litten until 2 Bulbasaurs finally appeared. Also, the last Squirtle finally appeared and the final Bulbasaur. And after a while of evolving and grinding and all that, I got all 9 starters. Unfortunately, there is no way implemented in the base mod to find or catch the legendaries. Yes, granted, there are some add-ons that implement legendaries into the game, and I tried all of them in a separate world, but I couldn't get any of them to work. So yeah, just screw it. Obviously, if they add legendaries into the game, I'll catch them in the next video, or if I find a way to finally work the add-ons, I'll again catch them in the next video. Anyway, if you made it this far into the video, please subscribe. This video took more than 500 hours to record and even more hours to write the script and edit, so a subscription would greatly be appreciated. It's free and it helps out a ton, and you can always unsubscribe. Anyway, bye.